Good morning, everyone. We'll start the meeting now. I do apologize if I get a bit raspy anytime. I'm a bit under the weather today, so please bear with me with that. For new members, we have Matt Vandele. Sorry if I butchered your name there on the call. From Windward Drones. Matt, do you just want to introduce yourself quickly to the group?
Sure, yeah, Matt Vanandel here. Yeah, so my business partner Mike and I, we've got Windward Drones. We are doing a lot of agricultural stuff. So the last couple of years, we've been doing a lot of greenhouse whitewashing. Now we're doing a lot of more data and experimentation with cover cropping, and we're not doing any spray stuff because that's not legal. But we are dealing with a lot of nurseries for inventory purposes right now, and other interesting things. So we are into multispectral and vineyards and all that fun stuff. So a lot of learning's happening as we go, and we look forward to meeting you all in the future.
Fantastic. And I know your Mike, your coworker, um, isn't able to come on the call today, so maybe we'll have him introduce himself another time.
Yes, thank you.
Fantastic. So for presentations today, we don't have a presenter, but we were going to go over our 5 years of funding again, and we really want to get feedback from the group on this. Please be open with this. If you see something that you don't like, or if you see something that should be improved, or if you're thinking there's an area that we're missing, we'd really like the group to kind of bring that out and kind of go on that for us. And if you're not brave enough to bring that up on the call, please feel free to email me at any time with anything that comes up. So I'm sharing my screen and we can just go over that again. So my other screen's just down here. There we go. So for year one, which is kind of finishing just right now, we had our Nexus trials, which was identifying, removing weeds and lettuce crops. The autonomous soil sampler from which was through the Bioenterprise Fertilizer Challenge project using a Korichi robot, and the Chrysolite Labs probe for the soil optics combined together. We're working with the University of Guelph and Konichi
Connexio.
Connexio, thank you.
Yeah.
Testing, and then we were also testing the performance and ROI on the Orion. We were working with Ian Smith, who is the farmer at the University of Guelph at the Muck Research Station.
Is there anybody on from the research station? I just wanted to just go over the acres. I guess so when you're saying year one here, Aaron, are you talking about the year that has already passed? Or are you talking about, okay. All right. Then just to be clear to the group, just the way that when we're dealing with for those of you that are unfamiliar with dealing with a provincial organization, the year end is March 31st. And so when the funding was announced in September, this cover, year one is kind of over already, right? And so now we move into year two. So just in case we're to be somewhat clear, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's Kevin Vanderkoy from the University of Guelph. Aaron, so we tested the farm droid at Ian Smith, so that the robot is incorrect in the listing there.
Was that done at the Muck Research Station or at Smith's location in Keswick?
No, that was actually done on his farm. So we seeded 7 acres of onions, and then we did 7 acres of onions last in 2023.
Right, okay. And then the Oreo was at the research station doing trials at the research station. We actually did both, Aaron.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
So there was okay.
I will have that changed on the report. Or the funding. Mm-hmm. Years 2 to 4, so that is what we're currently in, and then the next 2 years following this. As Chuck said, each year ends on the 31st of March. So what we're looking to kind of hit on this coming season and the following seasons after is farm droid onion trials. So FarmDroid itself has no plans to currently undertake any modifications for a seeding unit or for shielding modifications. In this trial, we'd be looking at things on planting methods, seeding with the robot, weed controls, cost comparison to conventional practices, modification of the shielding to reduce crop damage itself. And again, we'd be working with Ian Smith and the Bradford Muck Station. Any thoughts on this?
So what we're looking at here for feedback is, are we missing something that we should be measuring? Is there some kind of piece of data that, you know, some things that are going to happen at the same time is we will be collecting soil test information at the same time. So we're going to be doing, you know, some soil tests. We're going to be looking at, we're going to be tracking weather from weather stations at the same time. If there's an overlap with, and he talked of, you know, down below there, Aaron has Picketta's lens trials. So again, that will probably happen on the same site. So if there's anything else that the group thinks that we should be looking at, whether it's ROI, time to delivery, operation speed, battery life, compaction, just whatever somebody has an interest in, you know, the next month or so is kind of the time to speak up and say, you know, what else should we be looking at? So.
Because that's a big part of what. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Kristen.
Sorry, I'll raise my hand next time. I was just curious, maybe we could spell it out a little bit more. Maybe Mary Ruth or Kevin or Jeff could chime in here. Just that they're going to be doing the modifications to the FarmDroid to compare.
Well, we are actually.
Oh, you are. Somebody is.
But what we could have, Kristen, is I think we should say acres, size of plot, number of runs, number of replications. I think we should have that detail in this, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, we could probably take a look at the actual funding application to maybe spell that all out a little bit clearer. Also, I was just curious about the FarmDroid, if we were going to be doing any testing on other crops, like will we be seeding any beets with it? Maybe in year 3? I don't know.
Well, we could, right?
I was hoping maybe that will be something we can look forward to in the future, just because we have big challenges there with respect to no post-emergent herbicides available for the growers. So I really think, yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
So I think that probably is better suited for the Oreo, because we'll be using the Oreo. I think our trials this year is going to start doing that work without any herbicides, because we don't have a lot of options. So our mechanical weed control, our sprayer that we built for it, is going to be the way we're going to try manage the weeds in that. So and with the FarmDroid, we'd have to move it, or we'd have to get a second unit. Once we set it in place for the season, we can't really move it around without having a second base station. So in order to do other, like rutabagas or some other crop, we need another unit to do that.
Yeah, but I'm just kind of flagging this for the future, because I think the FarmDroid would be a really good option for beets. So for the future, maybe after that trial's completed.
Yeah, and we might have time to do that. So.
Well, and I think one of the questions too for this is that, and this is going to be in Kevin and yours and Mary Ruth's court, is how many years do we need to do this specific onion trial, for example? Will we be satisfied by year 3, for example? Is that going to be, you know, we don't have to do the same thing for 4 years in a row, right? So, but I'm not a researcher, so I'm not going to specify that.
And the funding that we have to help support this project is starting year 2 in April.
Well.
Yeah, so it's a University of Guelph, OMAFRA, but our year end starts at the end of April. So we'll have 2 more seasons of this, and then I think we can discuss whether we whether we switch focus and look at other aspects using the same
Other
equipment.
crops.
So,
Yeah, other
Right.
crops, yeah.
Sure.
but that's all in
Excellent.
year 2 to 4, I guess. So
Yep.
it doesn't have to change the timelines. Just the
Mhm.
projects might change slightly.
Not sure how to put my hand up, so I got to cut in. I apologize. Hey, just where you see the trials on the 5 to 7 acres of leafy greens, is there any comparisons with indoor growing with the leafy greens? Like, are you going to compare the viability of doing the 7 acres over, the one season versus indoor growing where they're harvesting, every 3 weeks year round, as far as ROI goes and all that kind of stuff?
I think, correct me if I'm wrong as well, Chuck, but it would be mostly comparing to conventional crop and conventional production.
It's outdoor
in
production.
fields. Yeah.
So I think I understand where you're going with
Yeah.
this. You know what? These are the kind of questions that we need to address,
Yeah.
right? If we think that is important, then I think we add that to the list. Okay. So, what we'll have to figure out is how do we do that? And if that's something that we think the group is interested in, well, then we add it, right?
Yeah.
So, Aaron's taking notes through the system, so fire away, right?
Mhm.
We might not be able to say yes or no on this call,
Yeah.
but add
yeah.
it to the list.
Thank
Right.
you.
A question that I had on that Nexus one, Kevin, is how many acres are available total with that grower?
I'd probably say 5 to 7. I think he basically plants an acre a week.
Mhm.
But then they only stay in the ground for say 6 weeks and then he'll
Yep.
replant it again. So I think that's sort of the range that we're looking at.
Okay, good.
So it ends
Tarek
up being probably 20 acres, but it keeps repeating, he'll grow the same crop over the same.
Yeah, Tarek was asking, and I just wanted to follow up with him. So
Okay.
great. And that kind of detail, Aaron, is something that we should put in this report. Kind of
Mhm.
what the structure of this is going to look like. Right?
Absolutely. Any
What's
other
the-
items? Oh,
What is
sorry,
the
go ahead.
timeline? What is the timeline for the Nexus to come here?
I'm going to find that out here shortly. Great. I was actually waiting for this call to ask the question, and then I'm going to get back to Tarek next week. So I know that the robots they were still in Arizona, and if you believe the social media, everything looks wonderful, but I mean, that's social media, right? So their team is pretty pumped. So I am looking forward to seeing that machine run again.
And my other question, I guess, Kevin, is how close is this to the other location? This farm close to Ian Smith,
This will be right down the road from us.
right down from the
Yeah,
research
This will
station.
be,
Okay.
it'll be on wood choppers down the road. So
Oh, that's great.
very close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a comment in the chat, Aaron, from Janice.
1 sec, I can't quite see it in my presentation mode.
Okay, want me to read it? I think ROI is also important as it's one of the first questions that comes up when growers considering adoption. Absolutely. That's the first thing is how much does it cost? What's in it for me? Absolutely. That said, I'm not up to speed on where the work on ROI since by various technologies. Yeah. Do you want to comment on that, Chuck?
Oh, that's excellent. Okay. And what's interesting is that, like, I'm having a meeting next week, with one of the equipment suppliers, and they want to revisit their pricing model, for our marketplace. Essentially saying, okay, we've been doing this now for 2 years, 3 years, and what's good, what's bad, and does the ROI actually work for the growers? And if it's not working, well, then we need to revisit what this looks like. So it's all relevant, not just from the farmer's perspective, but also from the manufacturer's perspective. And just so you guys are clear, they're thinking of lowering, making it cheaper. Okay.
That's always a good thing.
That
Yeah.
improves the ROI, I think.
Yeah, generally speaking, yeah. Okay. Sorry, Aaron, we kind of keep
No,
going.
no. This is exactly what we want to have happening right now. We want discussions and we want people to bring up information that they think is important or where they want more depth they see.
I
Any
see
other
Paul Vandenborre had a comment. You want to know how many different crops will the Piquetta system be used on? Is there room for a trial with potatoes? And I'm going to say I think for sure, because that's what Piquetta was originally designed for. So I don't see why we wouldn't be able to fit that in.
Just to give people an update on the Piquetta lens. So it was developed for potatoes. That it's currently has a model that will that replaces tissue sampling that has to go to the lab. And what we did in 2023 and what we'll do in 2024 is we're trying to build a model to look at onion leaves, similar to what they looked at potato leaves, to develop the model, the AI learning, to use that on onions. The problem is, or the issue is that you need, 500 to 1,000 samples that need to go to the lab and to the Piquetta system in order to build the model, which becomes expensive when you're sending all those samples to the lab. But it gives you real-time data, basically prints a report out as soon as you're done scanning that you can then take that information and decide if you're, going to put a foliar application of fertilizer on or what you're going to do. So there's lots of other potential, but the issue is that it needs to be, you can't just start testing things. You need to build the model first before you can do anything. So that can take, 500 to 1,000 samples and a few $1,000s to do that. So one of the things we're going to maybe do this year is, well, we're going to have two lens units, and we're going to double sample. So we'll send one sample to the lab, but we'll get two readings from the machine in order to increase the number of samples that we're getting from the lens in order to help speed up the algorithm and the AI learning, just to put more samples through more units. So
and then I think we also have in our discussions with Xavier, they want us to do some winter wheat. And so I think that now that the wheat is starting to grow, we have some work that coordinated to do as well with winter wheat. They want to do that trial, and they would also like to do corn as well, just so the group knows. Okay.
And we eventually might look at other vegetable crops as well, including possibly carrots and celery. So,
yep.
Which are crops that have tissue, that people do tissue sample for. So this will be a replacement for that type of sampling. So
we've had interest from tree nurseries as well, because that's actually our biggest tissue sample customer here at Hagerty is the tree nurseries. It's just we just don't do 1,000, right? So it's difficult to do enough to calibrate it. But I think just over time we're just going to start. So.
And there's just so many species.
So ideally, we will be reviewing this funding priorities going forward. We might do it something a bit more frequently. Obviously, we haven't done too much review of it before, but we want this to be a living document that is slowly updated. And we really do want your feedback. So I really appreciate these questions, and we'll make note of them and kind of try to put them in going forward. I see Jason has his hand up as well.
Yep. Hey, everyone. Sorry, my computer doesn't think I have a camera today, but yeah, I just wanted to propose the question. So within ROI, what are things to look at? Like, I want to propose that question to the group. Kind of what I have is like the difference in labor kind of savings you'll have there, difference in inputs, difference in yield, but what else? What are other things that we want to consider within that ROI calculation?
Test. It's a test, Jason.
Another consideration is maintenance. Okay, cost of spare parts and the longevity of the machinery.
Yeah, depreciation.
Appreciation.
I actually, we do a lot of cost of production calculations within OMAFRA. We have actually one person that does that, and all of us specialists work together with them on that. And in any particular crop, we do have that data, and we could try and help obtain that. I know I've been helping update some for tender fruit and grapes. And so that has everything in it, the cost of production for that crop. And I think that would be helpful in order to calculate the return on investment. So based on the crops that you're working in, I think we kind of started down this road at the beginning of the working group, and we kind of got off track. But for any one of the commodities that we're working in, I think maybe we could try to get some updated cost of production numbers, and you can see all of the calculations that go into that and everything that's considered. And I think that would help.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Kristen. We did get off track a little bit. We did have a subcommittee on ROI initially.
Yeah, then John Mullen Hughes left the ministry, and we do have a
Mhm.
new engineer now. So, and I think he did participate. He may even be on the call today. I'm not sure. But yeah, so that's something that we really need to get going on, I think. For all the crops that are being worked on, try to get those numbers put together. So you'll need to work with us and our specialists in OMAFRA, and a person named John Mullen Hughes from our business development branch.
Okay.
One of the intangibles that I found through Precision Ag was the impact the technology had on just basically quality of life, if you might say. Like as soon as customers were using the tech, they would say, well, I can work a longer day, less stress, more time to manage the business, that sort of thing. And those are really difficult to put a number on from an ROI perspective, but they're a reality. It makes a difference. So someone going from no technology right into robotics would maybe feel that impact more than someone that's already well established and got the technology on the farm. But I'm not sure if there's any way to measure how that works. Simple things like farm manager just not having to stress about a system that's working, in one corner of the farm versus a system working in the other. And just knowing that there's, I guess that comes down to uptime, reliability, and those sort of things, right? So,
Yeah, and in our meetings that I've been having with Tabell and some of the growers, Larry, we're going through some of those intangible ROIs, and some of it revolves around data. The automated collection of data that normally wouldn't exist, and what is that worth? The other one is the idea of multiplying the manager. So if you set a specified criteria, the example that we were giving is picking like a certain size of apple, and knowing that the robot is going to keep doing that without having to constantly go and check that the workers are doing that. What is alleviating some stress? Okay, like what is that worth? Those are those intangibles that are, I think,
right.
Aaron, for our standpoint, and Jason, I think at the start we just start listing them. You really can't assign a value initially, but you start listing them and then defining what that actually means might be the starting point.
Create possibly like a SWOT kind of idea.
Right. Okay.
Any other thoughts or comments on ROI? What you would like to see, or
Just another thought from our side is we have to get to know our customer. And I don't think robotics will be any different. We have to know what our customer can handle technology wise, because we can give them the fanciest of panels where they can program everything into harvesting. But if they've got unskilled labor standing there, it's a waste of everybody's money, to be honest with you. So
Right.
we can then put a panel on. It's just got a green button go, red button stop, and dials to up and down the speed. And a lot of customers, this is all they need. You know, and robot's the same, because we've got a robot that does welding, and I've got an unskilled guy there. He's got to be able to just push those buttons, not be able to figure out all the recipes to change the speed and feed of that weld. So anyways, we've got to consider that a lot when we're selling our equipment.
Mhm. Well, and I think what that is that is actually negative ROI. That sometimes when you introduce a technology that might have strong ROI on labor savings on one side, but then you add in a whole service technician that has to do all the training, now you've got a new cost. So there's, you know, and that there's two sides of every coin when you're introducing this tech. And sometimes those of us like myself who are somewhat tech savvy and we don't mind the pain of learning a new system, we tend to ignore those costs.
Yeah.
And overlook them.
I mean, look at me, I can't even put my hand up, you know. Yet there's a lot of people here are totally savvy with everything, right? But I'm still
Right.
able to participate in the group without being totally tech savvy.
Mhm. Right. Now I feel guilty for not putting my hand up.
no worries. Keeps the conversation lively. Any other, so we had a couple other comments come through. Oh, and Gary or Garson, sorry.
Thanks. Something that I think we've touched on a little bit as well is integration of any specific technology into the rest of the farm's operations, and the potential value or detriment that brings to the overall farm. So sometimes, you know, we've talked about labor savings, for instance. So your staff are able to go do something else on the farm, for instance. So that might be a measurable metric.
I think that, you know, obviously with robotics, the opportunity for centralized control and administration of the system is huge. And that probably is going to happen, you know, where companies are managing, you know, multiple organizations, multiple portfolios, but it's all centralized. And that's again adding to that advantage to the farm manager that doesn't have to think about that. It's being taken care of at a different level.
I see Matt has his hand up as well.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share a bit more about what we're up to, and then contribute hopefully to the ROI discussion. So I didn't want to table too much until we were a bit further along. We're a bit further along now. So we shared with Chuck, but I don't think more broadly, that we're working on robotic fruit thinning. So not harvesting, but fruit thinning. So just in the context of years 2 through 4, this year we're only going to be deploying it on our own orchards. Version 1 of the prototype. So we won't have any, like, happy to share the progress, and I welcome people's input and feedback on it. But so year 2 under this timing, so 2024 season will be exclusively on our own orchard. But in this sort of roadmap, year 3, we're hoping to deploy on in some other orchards. So again, just want to share a bit about what we're up to. So that our tech development is here in Waterloo, and then our orchard is down in Simcoe. But yeah, so welcome any feedback and input. I also want to comment on the ROI discussion. One of the things, because we're obviously spending a lot of time thinking about if you can roboticize fruit thinning, how do you calculate the ROI? Obviously, labor reduction is a really big factor. we are, and we welcome input on it too, but we've been really trying to get into the weeds of how would we do it at our own orchard. And it is really interesting as we're going into it, because it's not necessarily perfectly linear, because you're normally going to use seasonal work crews, and how does that factor in? It's not perfectly linear. Like if you can, shed 100 acre, like if you can swap 100 hours of effort into the robot, how do you actually implement that on a seasonal worker program? Do you actually have a smaller crew? Are you actually, doing a swap to a different farm or not? So anyway, we're realizing very much it becomes pretty challenging unless you can actually decrease the actual crew size on how to factor in labor reduction. So welcome people's input and feedback on that.
Any thoughts or comments on that?
No, other than I think that's really interesting. And I was wondering if you're planning on participating in the Ag Tech Day that the apple growers are putting together in July, or do you think the technology would be ready for demonstration, kind of a demonstration this year, or you want to wait a year?
That's a great idea. Yeah, Kristen, thanks for bringing it up. I hadn't thought about it, because I think initially I thought we wouldn't probably be ready to demo it. Again, it won't be ready for showtime this year beyond our own orchard, but it may be ready enough to show people what we're doing with the context of the sort of the progress. But yeah, thanks for the input on that. Let me get a better sense of where we might be by July, but thanks a lot for putting that on our radar. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just going to see what the tentative date is for that, because I know it's in my calendar already. July 10th. Around Port Stanley. That's what they have. So.
Okay, I love it. I love the idea of a deadline. Great, thank you.
Can I make one last comment before we move on from this, Aaron?
Yep.
In that once we have some headings and some groups, then I think we need to have some specific detail around what these ROI calculations are and how they're calculated and how they're reported. In some of our other discussions, there tends to be a lot of ambiguity amongst growers. We don't want to have a situation where we're saying, well, we think it's 60%, or we think it's this, or we think it's right, because in our apple grower discussions, when we were talking about bruising by the workers that are picking the apples, when we asked the farmers, one farmer said they had 0 to 1%, another farmer said they had 10%, and none of them had any data as to what it actually was. And then the farmer who said they had 3%, when they actually pulled up the reports from the processor that packed the apples, they were actually 8.5 or 9. And so what the farmer thought they had versus what they actually had are different. And we want to make sure we don't make that mistake. And that's why I'm kind of, once we get some labels on these things and structure it that way, then we want to make sure we're calculating it, in a way that's acceptable.
Absolutely.
Yeah. David put in the chat a Word document about factors affecting, I think, ROI. But I also think it might be helpful if I can help set up a meeting with some of macro folks, and start with like a straw dog and kind of and I think like what you're saying, Chuck, is bang on for all the different commodities. There's going to be different variables that have an impact, so you're going to have to kind of streamline it, like have like a main what you're going to calculate a main thing, and then for specific commodities you're going to be looking at definitely other variables that affect those crops. So yeah.
Absolutely. I will just continue on just so we don't miss anything. Year 2 and 4 continued, so we will also be doing trials at Cave Springs. That'll be with the TED robot. That'll be doing undervine weed control, UVC light trials for disease and weed, and additional testing, hopefully at strawberry operations. I don't know if that is on site there or if it's other locations.
It's a different location. And then on the TED trial, there will be the Vivid Machines camera system on the TED as well. So that has been confirmed. That mapping is going to start like any day with that robot. Okay. The other thing too on these TED trials, we're also doing ROI calculations, right? The same kind of math that we're doing on the other robots. There's going to be a bunch of duplication on these things. So same thing, we'll be doing soil testing, we're going to be doing tissue testing, we're going to be doing weather station monitoring, ROI count. Like we're going to try to replicate some base criteria on every site, just because. And the issue is that we don't want to wait till year 4 and then say, boy, I wish we had collected that. Okay. So we're better off collecting this information right from the start. It doesn't cost that much money. And then by year 4, if we say, hey, we don't need to do that anymore, well, then we say, okay, but I don't want to wake up in 2027 saying, oh crap.
And just for interest's sake, it doesn't have to deal with robotics, but I'm going to be having other demonstrations at that location as well for new active ingredient, like a new herbicide. So there's actually going to be 6 of those in the Niagara area. So they will be of big interest to these growers who no longer want to use glyphosate. So anyways, just thought I'd let people know that.
And the Tevil, I know Chuck is currently in talks with them, hopefully possibly bringing them to Ontario and doing more ROI to find out how it works and how it can actually pencil in on operations here.
Yeah.
And then also, once we have that kind of information to a point, we can also start engaging manufacturers to possibly getting the license to supply the Canadian market.
Right.
Sorry, Chuck, did you want to add anything on that? Or?
So Itai and I have had, I think we've had 7 2-hour long grower meetings with 4 different growers going through the both the capacity of the orchard to fit the Tavel machine and also the grower's willingness to participate in the project. We have one grower for sure that I'd say is probably 70% committed. The other growers that we have talked to are sitting on the fence, and then we have one last grower that we haven't had a chance to meet with that we're meeting with on Tuesday. And so I'm hoping that by Friday next week, we should have an update as to whether this project's a go or not.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And then we're also doing Oz trials, which is performing demonstrations here at the grounds of the Western Fair District. And then hopefully we'll be cultivating community gardens with them so that people will start to understand more, and we'll hopefully get kind of an urban buy-in to this, which can help with adoption as well. We also want to engage with students here on site so that we can start getting those technicians or possibly future manufacturers involved with this. So that's kind of what we're looking at doing for years 2 to 4. This is a very basic document, something that we want to flesh out more and more, make it more in depth. And the way we can do that is getting feedback from everyone on this call. We want that information. We want to see what you guys want to see, and go there. Yes, Kristen?
There's a big project missing. The project is the scouting project.
Oh,
with
yes.
The Karachi platform and
Yeah.
lima beans with Norterra. And for those of
Yeah.
you, this will be a very important year for that project because all of the imagery has been labeled, and hopefully this year now the platform can go through and scout all the acres. I don't know if you want to talk about the project, Jason. Really the key lead on that one, but yeah, it's pretty exciting. Anyways, if what we did at last year actually works, right? So
I do
Mhm.
believe he's
I
going to
won't-
be giving a presentation at the end of this month, if I remember correctly, or soon.
I believe it's next week, next
week.
Friday. So I won't get too much into it. I'll leave it for the presentation.
Excellent.
Yeah, I guess I'll leave it at that. Leave everyone in suspense.
But I do think that project needs to be added to the
Absolutely.
list.
100%. Yep.
And then for the 5th year, we just had a showcase year. So that's really where we want to get this data out there to be consumed. Doesn't mean we won't be doing trials on that year, probably. We'll most likely be continuing trials. But that's kind of what our idea is, to really push on that and really hit on emission items as well. Because that's something the government's really been pushing for as well. So if we can prove that this data, it's another ROI, I guess, ultimately when it comes down to it. Because if you can prove that you're hitting on those targets, it's saving you money and allowing you to continue your operations. Yep, Chuck.
So something else related to this that is missing is we are doing like split rate nitrogen trials as well. And it looks like, I think we are having some meetings with Dr. Yeep from University of Ottawa and Area XO to basically not necessarily replicate exactly what they did, but to expand what they did onto a different site. And so there is a robotics company out of Waterloo that has built a prototype that they're going to try on our farm down here, which basically is going to apply nitrogen on corn up to 15 times through the growing season. And the whole goal of that is emissions, nitrous oxide emissions and reductions and yield, that kind of stuff. So that project will be added to this as well. The cost of it is very low, so which is kind of nice. And that's missing from this as well.
Tristan?
Yeah, I was just curious if there's going to be any like actual work done with the burrow or the Vitaroba, or those are just going to be used as demonstrations for this year.
So the Vitarover we're gonna take the Vitarover up to Cave Springs. I think that's gonna be the most logical place to put it because we're gonna have people. It's gonna be there. It's a vineyard. You know what I mean? I think that's the most logical place. And the burrows, we haven't done anything specific with those yet. I guess we sold a few of them, so that's kind of nice. But there's nothing built in there yet. I am in discussion with Parks Blueberries about using the burrow as a harvest aid. A lot of the tree nurseries around in Ontario grow the trees too close together. So in the US, the tree nurseries the rows tend to be wider, whereas here they don't necessarily fit. So what we're thinking about doing with the burrow is taking one of them and moving it from farm to farm. So basically it could go on one farm in the spring, it could go to the blueberries in June, July, whenever they come off. Then we can move it to a different farming operation later on. So that's kind of the sort of a plan, but we haven't included it as part of the innovation farm group.
I think that's a really cool robot, and it would be one that growers can immediately see like a return, right? So
Right.
I think that'll be very interesting to anyways include in some demonstrations or whatnot for the year.
I think that I know that Josh from Cave Spring was very interested in the burrow as a harvest aid for some of their grapes as well. And he was just like, how many things do we agree to?
Exactly. I know, because see what you got yourself into now.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
He was a little bit shell shocked, so I didn't want to throw that one at him too.
Yeah.
Any other items on the 5-year funding, or we kind of switch to the next section? If you do have things you want to add in, by all means, email myself, amartin@westernfairdistrict.com. I'll just put that in the group right now. I'm assuming everyone on it has it, my email already, because that's where the invites come from.
Can I add a couple other comments just on, in general terms on the innovation farm? So
Absolutely.
Aaron and Jason have been tasked with building a protocol document to introduce to the different growers that are participating. So kind of a set of terms and deliverables that, what does the grower agree to? What do we agree to as a group? As well as, visitor permissions, who's allowed on site, pathology concerns, all that kind of stuff. So there's going to be a document might get forwarded around at some point when that gets further along. The other piece that's we're working on is a pitch deck for the innovation farm. And we have had a manufacturer, two manufacturers have asked, hey, we want to bring our technology to your innovation farm. And same kind of thing, what deliverables, what expectations do we have, those kinds of things. So we will share that with the group once there is a draft that's floating around, kind of a smaller committee on this. So once it's ready, we'll share that out. But it's exciting to have companies. One of them is from the UK that wants to bring a piece of technology. Another one is Canadian, that are interested, and the manufacturer is a Canadian manufacturer that is interested as well. So the purpose of these innovation farms, like that is going to be the model going forward. So expect to see that document floated around in the next couple of weeks as well.
Currently there'll be quite a few things getting released relatively soon. We're hoping, and we love to have feedback on it, because that helps us to kind of bring that through. Actually, I'll share my screen again here. Everyone should be able to see the agenda now, just in case you don't have it. Yeah, so things that have actually just happened. I don't know if anyone on the call is currently there or have been there in the last couple of days. There was the New York Organic Summit, which went from the 3rd to today in Syracuse, New York. Was anyone on the call there? No. And then coming up, we have Discovery X Conference, which is on the 17th of April to the 18th. And that is at the exhibition place in Toronto. We have the Agritech Venture Forum, which is on the 1st and 2nd of May in Toronto as well. And then we have the International Symposium on Robotics and Automation on the 22nd of July. If anyone does have any events they want posted on here on the agendas, please send them my way. I'll be more than willing to put them on. Project update is kind of what we were just going through. Another update is we have our final report pretty well finished. We're just waiting on the translation to French. We hope to get that out to everyone so that they can see that. Once that French translation's finished, we'll have it out. Chuck, yes.
So there's any comments from Kevin in the group on the innovation days at the research station and how that went on the 3rd and 4th? Or are they still here? I know that just happened. The other, go ahead.
I'm still here at least.
We
had good grower turnout. Jeff did a presentation on the AgRobotics project that we're working on, and a bit of a demonstration of the piccata. We didn't have onion leaves to scan for the piccata, but we had some information from the past summer that we could demonstrate. So that all went well.
Fantastic.
Okay, and then the other piece I had is I'm going to Pittsburgh next week to the robotics factory, agriculture and robotics summit. And there is a small robotics hub that is being developed around the Pittsburgh area. And I was invited to this to a series of seminars and things. So I'll do a report on that when I come back. I won't be long, but I mean, I'll update the group as to what it's at. Again, agriculture is a big focus of what they want to work on. And I know when I think about AgRobotics, I don't think about Pittsburgh, but nobody thought about Ontario at one time either. So who's to say that it's not going to be something?
Absolutely. Look forward to that, Chuck. Funding opportunities is the other item. So the Canada Business app does have quite a few government programs that are ongoing, and it's a nice resource to kind of go through things. Two new ones that I've added to this list is the Sustainable Agri-Tech and Profitability IFAO Challenge, and also the Collaborate to Commercialize. And to go a bit over those, I do believe the Collaborate to Commercialize is basically helping with research. So if you have research that's specifically focused in tech and data, best suited for between academia and industry. So I do believe there's a cost sharing when it comes to research. And then the Sustainable Ag Tech Profitability IFAO specializes in the Innovative Farmers Association. They're seeking innovative ag tech solutions. I haven't looked through all of the details on this one, but I do believe that's a cost sharing program for items like that. And closed earlier last month or late last month, the ATI is now closed, but we still have some of the other ones open. And I do believe SCAP will be releasing more information on some programs going forward as we're coming into April now. And that seems to be when they update items on that. And then I will switch it over to our round table to continue on any conversations. Choose. Any items anyone would like to have brought up or continuation of the conversation on the 5 years of funding?
I have some stuff, but I'll wait for somebody else.
I see Kristen has her hand up.
Me too. I can always add things. I guess one thing I want the group to start thinking about is demos in July. We should really start thinking about when. I know it's hard because we're just planning for the season, but when we're going to be doing any KTT events, and kind of pick those dates so we can start working towards those.
Obviously, July 10th is out.
Yep. I know. Well, that's a save the date, but yeah, but there's an opportunity to do something in conjunction,
Yeah, you never know, right?
You never know, like maybe a 2-day thing even, you get more people out. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just,
Great.
yeah.
All right.
That's just my comment. I really think, I know it's April, but man, first week of April's gone already.
If you told me last week was February, I'd believe you.
Mm-hmm.
I had a meeting with Doug Alexander yesterday, and he brought up CFIN has a portal that they're using, the Canadian Food Innovation Network, and it's called YODL. So YODL. And it is a networking kind of organizational system that they're using to almost organize what we're doing here as part of the working group. So it's a way to organize the chats, discussions, members, stuff like that. So I'm going to take some time and kind of look through it. And I wouldn't mind if somebody else has some time to kind of look through the CFIN's YODL setup and see if it has a place for us. Because one of the questions that we have is how do we, as we're moving forward, how do we organize all the kind of tentacles of what we're doing? And how do we put it in a similar platform that's accessible to the members? And if somebody else is already working on something that sort of does that and works, then we don't need to reinvent it. And so just I just thought I'd put that out there. It's the first I'd ever heard of it, and it sort of came recommended. So I thought, well, it's worth looking at. So I think if you if somebody people have some time, that will be good. I'm not sure if anybody on the call has any experience with the Food Innovation Network and with that platform or not. You never know.
We're building a platform for that as well, Trek, but it's not ready yet.
Yeah, so take a look at it, Garrison, and see what you think.
Yeah, I've been on Yodel a few times, but I didn't realize that they had that functionality built into it. So I'll take a look at it.
Great.
Yeah, we have good connections with CFIN and the leader, Dana Delaney. So if you want us to make an intro, organize a presentation, happy to do that.
Okay, thanks, Giuliano. Yeah, Deanna's name was mentioned, so oh, that might be okay.
Somebody else in the chat.
Oh, wait, you know what? There's one person. I think we have another new member, Aaron. I think Colette Takis. I believe she's a new member as well. We're gonna single her out.
Yes, I'm here. Nice to meet everybody. This looks like an awesome group. I'm with Harvest Corp, Triton Innovation in Tilsonburg, and we're developing, or this is our third year working with an autonomous automatic asparagus, cauliflower, and broccoli harvester. And we've been out on the field. It's been going pretty good, but hopefully it'll go even better this year. So it right now it's does 2 rows or 1 row, and we're going up to 4 rows in the fall. So we've been working with Ron Evans at IRAP, and that's how I got this invitation, by the way. And Chuck. So we're really excited to be part of this group and learn more about you know, what we can do in Ontario to make this really more sustainable for our farmers.
Fantastic.
Yeah, sorry for not singling you out there earlier, Colette. I neglected to do that. I was too busy talking myself.
That's okay. I've been listening and really enjoying all the content. So thank you.
Welcome to the group. Kristen?
Yeah, Colette, nice to meet you. I think we might have met on one of our other demo days, but I was just curious, will you be doing any demonstrations this year? And if so, I saw some asparagus already emerging, so maybe that's going to be sooner than we think.
We are planning on doing two demo days. Yet to be determined the dates, though, because of we're not sure what's going on with the asparagus. Some of it is beginning to emerge, but it's hard to say. And I mean the product itself is being kind of retrofitted with some new some new lenses on it. And so hard to say when we're going to be out there, but I will definitely let everyone know. We do expect to have 2 demo days, so one mid-season and one at the end of the season is what we're thinking. And then with the robot itself, we're going to be taking the end of arm tool and being able to clip it off and exchange it for broccoli or cauliflower. So we were in with broccoli year before, so we're hoping to get into cauliflower this year.
And so I think for the group in general, you know, when we talk about supporting partners, you know, this is what the Innovation Farm Network is about, right? And so I think if Colette, you know, if you have a list of requirements and things that we can help, whether it's supporting your demo days, whether it's providing technical support, technicians, these kind of things. We've had these discussions already. But I think this is the purpose of this group. We want you to succeed. So
yeah, we definitely want to succeed to help those farmers out there for sure. I mean,
Mhm.
getting those people to come across and, you know, this to do the labor piece. I mean, not fun for them. And talk about a big knife they have to carry around for asparagus. It's a little dangerous. So go ahead.
No, just maybe for the group, when you talk about mid-season and after harvest, maybe you could kind of give the timelines there for asparagus, because it's a quick crop.
It is a quick crop. So we've been working with a farmer in the Tillsonburg area who allowed us to keep using, I think it was 4 rows um, till August last year. So he kept cutting it and allowing it to grow so we could do our testing. But for this conversation, we're thinking probably June, mid-June, and then the next one would be mid-July.
See, that would work out as part of our possible robotics tour. Okay, so that we'll keep that in our hip pocket there. Okay, Colette?
Great.
The July one, yeah.
Yeah, the July one. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm thrilled if you guys have any ideas of, you know, different farms that we could work on, that'd be great. We are working with one farmer very closely, but if you know any farmers who are interested in learning more about our product, you know, perhaps you can let Chuck know or myself know, and we can give them a call.
Great.
Absolutely. We're 3 minutes over 10, so I just want to respect everyone's time. And I will close this meeting. If anything does come up, please feel free to email us out. Oh, I see there was a hand raised there for a moment. No? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I just wanted to say, you know, that we are receiving the funding to test the technologies in Quebec, so we are really happy. And next week, we are starting our tendering process with a research center, so I will keep you notice on our activities, and we are pursuing also regular activities for our network. So this about like that. I will give you more information next week.
Okay,
perfect,
excellent.
Excellent.
Congratulations. I know
Yeah.
that was a lot of work on your part.
Yeah. A lot of funding.
Yeah.